Welcome back everybody, my name is Nick930, and since we're nearing the end of the year, we're going to take a look back at the best games of 2017. Now this video is going to be handled much differently than my top 10 videos in the past, in that we're actually going to break it down into categories and focus on the best game from each genre. And just a full disclosure before I begin, I am not a big JRPG or fighting game player, so we're going to skip over those for the sake of you guys getting a more focused list. So starting off, let's look at this year's best shooter video game. There was the narrative-driven Prey, the competitive class-based arena shooter Lawbreakers. Call of Duty World War II was a great return to form for a franchise that is constantly under fire for not doing anything different. Me and my friends loved playing Destiny 2, and then we have Star Wars Battlefront 2 that was more enjoyable from a gameplay perspective than the last game, but it still gave fans a middle finger with their excessive use of loot crates and pay-to-win nonsense. And that leaves the award for absolute best shooter of 2017 to Wolfenstein 2. Wolfenstein 2 has fantastic visuals, an incredibly well done story with great performances, and badass fast-paced gameplay that I genuinely enjoyed playing every second of. I loved a lot of the nominees here, but Wolfenstein 2 was exactly what I hoped for and more, and despite it having a few minor hiccups with its PC port, the game itself is just incredible. Next, let's take a look at this year's best multiplayer shooter experience. Now, just to be clear, the games in this particular list don't necessarily need to be released in 2017. They just need to be shooter games that are still good in 2017. First, let's give a nod to Lawbreakers for at least trying to be a new IP in a market that's really difficult at this point to break into. The player count dropped off almost immediately, and buying this game now is basically just charity because you won't be getting anything out of it with only 40-some players online. Then there's Star Wars Battlefront 2, which offered a ton of great content, but again, locked it behind paywalls, so you're basically forced to either grind for hours, or buy randomized loot crates with real money. Destiny 2 has some great competitive multiplayer, but the way the game is designed makes it possible for players to literally punch each other in the face and kill each other at the same time, and that's about as non-competitive as it gets. Call of Duty World War II is a strong contender, but the balancing doesn't seem to be great considering most sniper rifles can one-shot kill you, making most other weapons completely impractical. Also, the number of hackers present in the beta has me worried about the longevity of the fair competitive space online. Battlefield 1, of course, still has managed to maintain a decent-sized audience thanks to some decent expansion packs, but the Windows 10 Creators Update really messing up performance for myself throughout the year and DICE's slow trickle of DLC content, I can't really say it's the best competitive shooter this year. Then we have the last two nominees, Rainbow Six Siege and PUBG. Now it's obvious that both games are incredibly popular, especially on the PC, and PUBG has set a ton of records for being unique, addicting, and the most popular multiplayer game this year. But I'm going to give the award to Rainbow Six Siege for delivering substantial content for free on a semi-reasonable timeline, and delivering some great adjustments in a much more polished game. I've recently found myself playing more PUBG and Destiny 2 lately, but whenever I go back to Rainbow Six Siege, I remember how excellent the overall design and concept is, and it's definitely one of the better competitive games I've played this year. Now for our next category, we're going to be looking at 2017's best stealth action game. Now this list is pretty small, which is a shame because I really love stealth games, but there's still a few decent entries that are worth mentioning. We have the standalone expansion for Dishonored 2, Death of the Outsider. Then we have the sequel to the lesser-known Styx game, then an impressive new entry to the Sniper Elite franchise that featured greatly improved graphics, controls, and gameplay, but my pick must go to the big hit earlier in 2017, which was Ubisoft's Ghost Recon Wildlands. When this game works, it's phenomenal and easily one of the best entries to this franchise I've played personally. Being able to sneak around thick jungles with your friends and take down multiple enemies simultaneously was awesome, and the amount of content available is insane. The open world is gigantic, and hunting down important targets in all the diverse environments with your friends was one of the best cooperative experiences I've had all year. While the stealth wasn't as involved as better stealth games like Splinter Cell or Hitman, it still had its moments, and I love planning out big infiltrations with my friends and getting to our targets without being seen. Now let's take a look at 2017's best action game. Another full disclosure here, I haven't played Neo or The Surge, but I've heard a lot of great things about Neo, and I do plan on playing that as soon as I get a chance. But I did play quite a few other great action games this year. We had the stellar Uncharted The Lost Legacy game, which was a great standalone expansion to the Uncharted 4 storyline featuring Chloe Frazer as the main protagonist. Then we had a new Assassin's Creed entry that featured an absolutely gigantic recreation of ancient Egypt, along with a brand new RPG element that completely reinvents the franchise's gameplay. There was the sequel to Shadow of Mordor that featured more of the same, and then we had Guerrilla Games' brand new Horizon Zero Dawn that lets you slide around shooting arrows at gigantic robot dinosaurs. But it's hard to beat Nintendo's Zelda Breath of the Wild. Breath of the Wild is an amazing Zelda game. It features a gigantic open world filled with secrets, things to explore, and things to do. It was an amazing swan song for the Nintendo Wii U, while at the same time being an excellent launch title for Nintendo's brand new Switch platform. I wasn't a big fan of the game's massive frame rate drops, but if you could look past those few instances, there's no argument that Zelda is easily 2017's best action-adventure game. Now onto our next category, 2017's best racing game. For this list, we're looking at all the car games that came out this year, and there were a crap ton. We had Dirt 4 early in the year, then in the fall we got Gran Turismo Sport, F1 2017, Need for Speed Payback. Then we had the excellent racing simulator Project Cars 2 that easily wins Best Looking Racing Game of 2017. But in terms of overall quality, I have to give the award to Turn 10's Forza Motorsport 7. Forza 7 features a ton of vehicles, a ton of tracks, a full campaign, excellent multiplayer including split screen, and is one of the best looking racing video games of all time. On top of that, the game has been designed to run flawlessly on the Xbox One X platform, with a full 4K native support running at a smooth 60 frames per second that rivals the PC version. I've played a lot of racing games this year, but Forza 7 has definitely held my attention the longest. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean it's the most realistic racing game, or has the best multiplayer racing component, but overall, I just enjoyed my time with Forza 7 for looking great, being accessible, and being fun to play. Next, we have the best sports video game of 2017. And I haven't played all these entries myself, so we'll be going more off of fan and critical reception for this one. We got a new Madden, a new FIFA, NBA 2K, NHL, and they all performed pretty well. I especially like the inclusion of full campaigns in FIFA and Madden that help make the single-player experience more personal. Then we had Ubisoft's Steep, which is probably one of the last extreme sports games I've played since SSX back on the PS3. It was good, but felt kind of empty at the same time. But for the best sports game of 2017, I have to go with MLB The Show 17. This game looks incredible, plays great, features a full campaign that lets you create your own self in the game and actually talk to recruiters, giving you a better understanding for the complicated process that these players go through every year. And on top of that, they added in an awesome retro game mode that reminded me of an old Super Nintendo baseball game I used to play as a kid. MLB The Show 17 received excellent reviews all around and is easily my pick for the best sports game of 2017. For 2017's best platformer, we had a surprising amount of good entries. Again, I haven't played all these entries, so we're going to have to go a bit off of the reviews for some. We had Yooka-Laylee and Super Lucky Tail, which didn't perform too great, and then we had some decent entries like Sonic Mania and Knack 2. Snake Pass was a surprisingly inventive platforming game that has you slithering around platforms as a snake with a really nice demonstration of the Unreal Engine. But then there's the stupid hard Cuphead that made me want to throw a controller out the window. But it's pretty clear who the award belongs to for Best Platformer. This is another entry I personally haven't played, but the overwhelming amount of positive feedback just can't be ignored. 2017's Best Platformer has to go to Super Mario Odyssey. I'm looking forward to finally playing this one whenever I decide to pick up the Switch. Now let's take a look at this year's best horror game. We had a sequel to Outlast, an asymmetrical multiplayer Friday the 13th game that was pretty cool, and then a sequel to the popular Evil Within that I personally had a few technical issues with and I didn't appreciate. But then there was Resident Evil 7, a surprisingly good return to form for a franchise that has been focused primarily on cheesy action segments for years. Resident Evil 7 had a great length, excellent graphics, some decent scares, and while it's not the best horror game I've ever played, it was definitely the best of 2017. Now for this year's Best Remaster or Remake. We had a remaster of Parappa the Rapper, Bulletstorm, and even the original StarCraft. But come on, this is kind of a done deal. Crash Bandicoot Insane Trilogy easily. 3 games, 1 fair price, and a return of a beloved mascot that has been dormant for over a decade. This game is a must for anyone who owns a PS4, and I really hope they remaster Crash Team Racing next. And now for the best indie game of 2017. I've played a lot of great indie games this year. There was Ark Survival Evolved, which finally had its official release. There was The End Is Nigh, made by the guy that created Super Meat Boy, for those of you that want to punish yourselves with a hard game. Then there was Danger Zone, a game inspired by Burnout 3's Crash Mode. And again, I really wanted to give this award to PUBG because of the countless hours I've spent playing it this year. But this award is a no-brainer. 2017's best indie game goes to Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice. Ninja Theory took a big risk, spending millions on a AAA production that they funded out of pocket so they could tackle a difficult subject matter without any restrictions. This game is an absolute work of art. Sure, it has simple gameplay and controls, but the story and graphics are gorgeous, and it's easily one of the most artistic games this year. And before I reveal my pick for 2017's Game of the Year, here's a list of big games that I won't be considering because I haven't played them yet. And finally, now for 2017's Best Game of the Year. Let's look at the nominees. We have Wolfenstein 2, Destiny 2, Uncharted: The Lost Legacy, Forza Motorsport 7, Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, Horizon Zero Dawn, and Assassin's Creed Origins. And my pick for the best game of 2017 is Zelda: Breath of the Wild. Zelda simply has it all. It's a massive experience filled with charming characters, inventive gameplay, fun puzzles, a decent story, and the ending wraps up satisfyingly without being drawn out too much. I never felt like I needed to spend more money on stupid DLC or anything like that, and the graphics look great considering the platform that they're running on. And I just found myself excited to play more all the time. It's not a perfect game, and I strongly consider giving the award to more inventive games like Horizon Zero Dawn, or games with a better story like Wolfenstein 2. But Zelda just featured more in terms of value, and it's hard not to appreciate the amount of attention that went into the design of everything in the game. And that's it for the best games of 2017. But those are just my own personal picks. I still have a lot more I want to try, like Neo for example. What games did you think deserved 2017's Game of the Year award? Let me know in the comments, and if you're new here, make sure to subscribe to my channel for more content every day.